Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into a totally hypothetical but completely terrifying apocalyptic scenario. We all go about our daily lives totally oblivious to the fact that we are literally spinning on a giant rocky globe at phenomenal speeds. But what if that constant, invisible motion just vanished? Picture this. The clock hits T0. 1 second. That is literally all it takes. The Earth's rotation abruptly grinds to a complete and total halt. Now, you wouldn't hear a grinding noise and you definitely wouldn't get a warning alert on your phone. Instead, your entire reality would be instantly shattered by 3 simultaneous planetary-scale impacts. First up, the atmosphere. See, the solid Earth might have stopped, but the air sure hasn't. Almost instantly, you'd be hit by a massive supersonic wall of wind, moving at over 1,000 miles per hour.
Second, the oceans. Without the Earth's spin pushing all that water outward, the giant water bulge at the equator just collapses. We're talking an instant drop of 8 kilometers in depth. And third, the sky itself. The sun effectively locks into place up there, and the day side of the planet immediately starts baking at an inescapable 100 degrees Celsius.
Section 1. The immediate wipeout. Okay, let's dive into this. To really wrap our heads around this devastation, we have to talk about angular momentum. The solid rock of the planet stops, right? But everything on it just keeps on moving. Astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson actually puts it perfectly right here.
If you're standing in New York City, you are currently moving with the Earth at about 800 miles per hour due east. So, if the bedrock beneath your feet suddenly hits the brakes, your body doesn't. You, your car, the trees around you, entire skyscrapers, they would all instantly be launched due east at the speed of sound. You wouldn't just trip and fall over, you'd literally become a supersonic projectile.
And as XKCD creator Randall Munroe points out, this blast zone isn't just some localized event. Everyone, and I mean everything, living between 42 degrees north and 42 degrees south is caught in this unbelievable supersonic wind shear. That covers roughly 85% of the global population. Now, in a few agonizing minutes, friction would actually slow these winds down. But honestly, those few minutes are way more than enough to reduce virtually all human structures to absolute rubble.
And get this, even if the Earth braked over the course of a full minute instead of a single second, the sheer deceleration force would be equivalent to 3/4 of Earth's gravity. That means down would literally feel like it was shifted sideways at a 38-degree angle. Any buildings that somehow weren't instantly blown away would just be ripped right from their foundations and completely smashed. Ironically, the only lucky survivors in those first few minutes would be researchers stationed precisely at the South Pole. They might just be sitting in their labs, maybe a bit confused, completely unaware that the rest of human civilization basically just vanished.
Section 2. The Oceanic Stampede.
So the supersonic winds have leveled the surface. Now we're shifting our timeline from minutes to hours. The atmosphere wasn't the only fluid carrying all that momentum. The atomized surface of the ocean, all whipped up by those winds, mixes with cold, deep water, which triggers monstrous, truly worldwide thunderstorms. Meanwhile, the sheer unimaginable momentum of the ocean water transfers into gigantic waves that literally stampede around the globe from west to east. Every single west-facing shore on the planet would be brutally scoured by a wall of turbulent water reaching for miles inland. We are talking about a combined tsunami and wind surge unlike anything ever seen in the geologic record.
Section 3. The Great Migration.
Let's move to and see how this builds a few months out, looking at a fundamentally transformed planet based on GIS modeling data. Right now, Earth's spin creates a centrifugal force that continuously pushes water toward the equator, creating this massive 8-kilometer-high bulge. But without that spin, that outward force instantly drops to zero. So that massive mountain of equatorial water has to go somewhere, right? Gravity just pulls it directly toward the poles. As the water furiously drains away from the equator, the polar basins violently flood, and this absolutely massive equatorial megacontinent slowly emerges from the depths. Also, because you're no longer being gently flung outward by the Earth's spin, you'd actually weigh about 0.3% more at the equator. It's crazy. This subtle gravitational shift divides the Earth's water into 2 distinct, massive polar oceans, and separating them is our brand new megacontinent. Complete was a staggering 12,280-meter-high continental divide running right through the middle of the Colombian Andes. The geography of Earth as we know it today, completely erased.
Section 4. The Core and Shield Collapse.
But man, the horror really doesn't stop at the surface. What happens if the Earth's rotation stops all the way down to its very center? Well, the spinning of our molten cores generates what's called the dynamo effect, which in turn powers Earth's magnetic field. So if the spinning stops, our magnetic shield completely collapses.
Without that shield, brutal solar radiation would steadily strip away whatever atmosphere we might have left, basically sterilizing the planet until it looks a lot like Mars. Or, honestly, even worse, the sheer internal friction of the entire planet grinding to a halt could unleash what scientists call the Venus hot break hypothesis. This is where all that dissipated rotational energy turns into raw heat, literally baking the lithosphere from the inside out, and completely boiling away whatever oceans still remain.
Section 5. The new orbital reality.
But let's assume the planet doesn't completely boil itself from the inside. We'd still face a profoundly strange new orbital reality. And this brilliantly illustrates our new calendar. Because we're still orbiting the sun, a single day now lasts an entire year. So for 6 grueling months, half the planet faces the sun, just baking under constant, unrelenting light and heat well over 100 degrees Celsius. Every single lake and river on this day side would just boil away. Meanwhile, the other half of the globe is plunged into the freeze. 6 unbroken months of absolute darkness where temperatures would just plummet well below freezing.
Just look at this stark contrast. On one side, you have a scorched, completely unlivable wasteland. But on the other, there's actually a tiny glimmer of hope. Right between the baking day side and the frozen night side, there's the Terminator line. It's this narrow, shifting strip of perpetual twilight. Because the Earth is still making its way around the sun, this twilight zone would slowly creep across the planet's surface over the course of the year. Honestly, it's the only place on Earth where the temperature would be stable enough for liquid water and potentially primitive life to exist. You'd basically have to constantly migrate, forever chasing the sunset just to survive.
But here is a fascinating, almost slightly humorous twist to all of this. We wouldn't actually be stuck like this forever. We still have our faithful orbital companion, the Moon. Over eons, the Moon's gravitational tidal pull would gently tug on our stagnant planet, very, very slowly transferring momentum back to Earth. Eventually, believe it or not, it would get us spinning again. Sure, a single day might take 3,000 years to complete, but hey, thank you, Moon.
Section 6. The severity scale.
Now, before you start packing your bags for the Great Twilight Migration, let's take a quick look at the science of the stop itself. Does it actually matter how long the Earth pauses? So the crucial point is the duration. A 1 millisecond pause, you'd barely even notice it, maybe a tiny mechanical tremor. But jump to just 1 second and it's a catastrophic, planet-killing event. The inertia alone destroys almost everything. 5 seconds amplifies that devastation even further, literally tearing up the Earth's crust. And if the Earth were to stop for an hour or more, the oceanic migration and atmospheric collapse become totally permanent. A 1 second pause is quite literally all it takes to reset the history of the world.
Which brings us to the ultimate question. The oceans have moved, the cities are dust, the magnetic field is entirely gone. Your only possible refuge is a constantly moving strip of dusk caught right between fire and ice. Could you survive the Great Migration in the twilight line, forever chasing a sun that never truly sets or rises? It's a terrifying thought experiment, and honestly, it makes you truly appreciate the quiet, steady spin of the ground beneath your feet right now. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep wondering, keep learning, and I'll catch you on the next one.